YouTube. We're here to talk about the 2025 Royal Rumble, Jey Uso, and so much more. You're not going to want to miss it. But before we get into it, I would like to introduce our special guest. She is a pro wrestling enthusiast. She is an artist, an entrepreneur, specifically a polymer clay artist, which this is my first time getting to pick the brain of an artist of this sort. I'd like to introduce to you Abby. Abby, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here, David. I really appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for taking the time to chop it up with me for a little bit here. Y'all could check her work out on Instagram at Voodoo Bop. I will have her Instagram handle on the screen as well as some of her work on the screen. She makes really good lifelike work. And I just wanted to quickly start off with I'm curious, Abby, like, what was the inspiration behind starting your business and making, polymer clay artist figures? How'd that come about?
Well, just growing up, I've always been a fan of claymation, stop motion. I love Tim Burton. One of my favorite movies is Coraline, and I just love how they look. And growing up, I've been around my sister's grandma's house, and she does a lot of polymer clay work, and just seeing her work all around the house really inspired me. She even gifted me my first clay set. So I just been sculpting for about 5 or 6 years now. I don't really remember when I first started, but it's been a while I've been doing it. So you can see all the way from the beginning on my page how I first started out, and one of the first things I even made was Coraline. So like it's just I just make what comes to my heart and what I enjoy, and I just so happen to just really love wrestling.
Great. That's what it's all about, doing what you love and loving how you do it. And I just saw the last one you came up with Lash Legend and Jakara Jackson. That is one of my favorites that I've seen on your page. And the Pikachu one, it's just incredible how attention to detail and how you make it identical to the real life figures and people. It's really good, and I'm sure it takes a lot of work.
Thank
Um, in general, are those like, are you like, if I was to say, can I have a customized version of myself? Well, is that customizable? Are you able to kind of mostly just about do anything?
Yeah, I can try. That's what I'll say. I'll try my very best. I do commission work. I one of my last commissions was of a character from an author. He makes his own stories, he draw his own work, and he sent his work over to me, gave me his inspiration, and I was like, I never made anything like this before. And it turned out to be one of my most favorite pieces that I've made. I don't know, I'll probably have to send you the piece on Instagram so you can see it. But yeah, I'll try to bring anybody's vision to life the best I can.
That's fire. That's really cool. All right, so let's get into some pro wrestling. That's what we all are invested in. The 2025 Royal Rumble is done. We're officially on the fast road to WrestleMania. I think one of the more controversial things that has happened, people either really love it or really hate it. If you happen to have been on the internet a little bit, main event Jey Uso is going to WrestleMania to face a world champion. Some think he's just a tag team guy that should have never won in such a stacked Royal Rumble. So many more, I would argue, the majority really loved this. That it was a surprise, and Jey Uso's getting rewarded for getting himself connected with the audience. How do you feel about it, Abby?
So let me show you how I feel. Because
Oh,
you know,
I like that. I like that.
I keep the Usos on
I
me.
like that. I like that.
Yes. So I am on the Yeet train. I love Jay. I love the Usos. His charisma is just, it's there. He's just a fun wrestler. He's a fun person. He keeps the people hyped and energized. And yeah, the Royal Rumble was very stacked, had a lot of big names in there like CM Punk, John Cena, and you could see even on Black Couch Bookings, video I was on,
Hmm.
I didn't say Jay, I wasn't, it was a total surprise, especially since he had just wrestled with Gunther and they didn't, put the belt on him. I didn't know they had that much faith in him to win the Royal Rumble, but I was very happy to see it because he does deserve it. And I feel like he would make a great champion or put on a great match. It's just all about the booking. We have a lot of people who are over, but they just don't book them well. And that's where the fear comes in with me. I'm just hoping they book him well.
That's fair. Definitely. It's one thing to get there, but then it's up to you need the WWE machine to execute it, and you got to do your part as a performer. But I'd like to ask you this as I mentioned some of the critics and what they're saying. A lot of them are saying one, we've seen Gunther beat Jey multiple times, and then their other criticism is Jey isn't the greatest in ring worker. Do you feel that should be a concern, or do you expect whether he picks Gunther or if he surprises us and picks Cody Rhodes, that Jey Uso could hold his own on the WrestleMania stage?
I mean, I feel like the calling into work his like, into question his work has just started recently. He's been on the roster for like 15 years and sure it was in a tag team, but nobody talked about his wrestling before. Nobody had any complaints before. And yeah, the match between Jimmy and him at last year's WrestleMania wasn't the best, but sometimes it's just about having chemistry with the other person. And
It's
maybe they
true.
just didn't have that, good chemistry with each other. And so I just have faith that him, whoever he chooses, they could like, find the right chemistry between each other. And the matches don't have to be long, so just shorten the match, hide the fact that he may reuse some of the same moves and make it more about the storytelling. You can work on that. A lot of wrestlers don't have that much of like, a vast move set, but we don't complain about it. It's just about how they pace the match, the storytelling going into it. It's just about other things as well.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I 100% agree with you that it's up to WWE to execute and time the match in a way that covers and hides the weaknesses of who's involved. You want to make them look the best they can. And look, personally, I believe he's capable. He's shown that he's capable of having solid matches with Ilya Dragunov. His Saturday night's main event match with Gunther wasn't bad by any means. I don't think he has to be the very best wrestler in order to deserve this spot. But I'll be honest, going in, like, I am the biggest John Cena fan of all time. And since this is his last year, I was all in on him winning that Royal Rumble. And when it was them in the last two, I'm like, oh, Cena got this. So there was a part of me, and I like Jey Uso, but I was rooting for Cena. So I was a little deflated. But ultimately, to get fooled like that, it feels good sometimes. It feels good as a fan to be wrong. And I think some people that are complaining too hard and taking it too seriously, they're one of those people that feels like they always got to be right and their favorites got to win. I was happy. Wasn't happy that Cena lost, but I was happy to get surprised and see WWE reward a guy for getting himself over. I respect it, and it shows that guys are getting rewarded in this era.
Right.
So, do you have a preference? Do you think would you prefer him to pick Cody? Would you prefer him to pick Gunther? Do you anticipate maybe WWE could throw us a curveball and Gunther loses to somebody we're not thinking of before April? What do you think?
Well, I think he needs to finish the story with Gunther. I feel like if he picks him, they could build a really good story. It's just the only thing really holding it back is we just saw the match, and I feel like, they could redo a match, rematch, there's nothing wrong with that, but I feel like it was just so close.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like he needs to pick Gunther. I don't know about Cody because it's just two baby faces going up against each other.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be good. And I like the idea that I forgot who said it last night, of them holding championships together. They were tag team partners and they
Mhm.
do have similar stories. So seeing them both as champions at WrestleMania would be, I think, a sweet moment. So I think Gunther, but I am looking for that curveball. I'm sure they're gonna throw something in there.
Something. I can't help but feel potentially something. Maybe a third person. You never know. I mean, they did that a couple years ago with Daniel Bryan, Edge, and Roman Reigns. It
Right.
started off as Edge and Roman Reigns, and then Daniel Bryan came in. I just wonder if we need to add that curveball to make it more interesting and sweet for Jay. But one way or another, I'm at the point where I'm convinced that WWE is going to go all in and he's going to win the world title. And we're going to see 70,000, 80,000 plus yeeting on a WrestleMania stage. So I'm here for it. I respect it a lot. I want to go to John Cena, back to him a little bit. Where are you at? If Jay picks Gunther, do you feel Cody makes sense with John Cena? Because I would love to see that.
Yeah, I would love to see that too. I just don't know how they're gonna go about it. One of the biggest baby faces, John Cena, one of the biggest baby faces currently, Cody. I wonder how they'll mesh well together. And I'm excited to see how John's gonna get there. Is he gonna win the Elimination Chamber to, punch his ticket, or I don't know. I'm curious to see that.
Yeah, that I'm very curious too. I'm very curious if they do that. What does WWE creative expect the reaction to be like? Do they expect it to be split Cody and Cena? Do they expect Cena to kind of have to lean heel? Because I don't think either one of them should be heel, but I just wonder how they're gonna go about building that tension when these are two guys that pride themselves off fighting for good and justice. It's like they're kind of very similar with the roles that Cena played historically and what Cody is playing now. But I think that might be the biggest match you could put for main eventing night two, or potentially that triple threat that's potentially brewing between CM Punk, Rollins, and Roman Reigns. That's another thing to keep an eye on. Um, but I'd love to see how they get there for sure. I also want to talk about the women's Royal Rumble. I thought personally, I think this might have been the greatest women's Rumble ever, and there's been a lot of good ones. But I just thought the way they paced it, the Trish Stratus return, the big pop Alexa Bliss got from returning, Charlotte's return. I thought it was really well done. Um, do you have any thoughts on Charlotte winning the Rumble and who you're expecting her to choose, and what are you seeing in Alexa Bliss and Nikki Bella's future? That was another nice surprise. What are your thoughts?
Well, I predicted Charlotte winning. It was predictable.
Mm-hmm.
Some people weren't happy about that. They thought it wasn't fair that she could be out for so long and just win. But I feel like it's the right thing. It was one of the right ways to go because she's such a big star and, it's undeniable. Like you can boo her, you can hate her, but she is a star in the women's division. And any match that she's in is going to elevate it and it's going to pique our intrigue to see
Mm-hmm.
where it's going to go. Now, originally I was like, okay, all in on her versus Tiffany. But I don't know, that promo between her and Rhea and calling Rhea a kid and Rhea is still feeling some type of way about it. There is still a story there, and it's probably
Yes.
bigger than her and Tiffany. They could run that back anytime, but her and Rhea, I feel like they need to finish their story. WrestleMania is about finishing stories now, but yes, they need to put a period at the end of their story. I want to see it.
I want to see that too. Not because I don't want to see Charlotte and Tiffany at some point. I think they have crazy athleticism and they'll have a good match. But I think it's like what you said. They have the story. Rhea's beat her once. Charlotte's beat her once. Everybody loves a good tiebreaker. I think it's very interesting. Rhea's at the top of her game right now. And I just think that feels like a WrestleMania worthy match to have, So I think I would lean towards her picking Rhea Ripley. Do you have any wild predictions who that would leave Tiffany with? Would that leave her potentially to a Bianca Belair, Alexa Bliss? What do you think?
Yeah, I had no idea until I watched Kai's video on his channel about rematches and running back with Becky Lynch. I feel like that'll be
Ah,
cool, bringing the man back and having them confront each other yet again. Or I'm not sure. I feel like I don't know who else she could face. I'm not sure.
yeah, yeah. I didn't think of the Becky one. That shout out to Black Couch Book and Kai. That would be a good matchup. Becky, I was hoping Becky popped up in the Rumble, but she might surprise us and pop up in the Elimination Chamber. Maybe take that and set her up for Tiffany. I'd be for that as well. That'd be definitely a big name matchup as well. Um, so your gut feeling, does Charlotte win the world title at WrestleMania, regardless of who she picks? Does Jey Uso win it?
Jay, definitely. It's time. It's
It's
time
time.
to
Yeah,
give this man a title.
it
He's been in the
is.
title picture so often. It's time to give him the title. Okay. Whether or not you feel like he can carry the title, he doesn't have to carry it for long.
No.
You know, we don't have to, have a year-long title reign or anything, but I feel like it is his time. It's time. And for Charlotte, I don't know. If she were to pick Tiffany, I feel like she would have to beat Tiffany, have Tiffany chase her a little bit more, build
Mm,
up another story or another feud. I feel like they have a lot they could build on. But her versus Rhea, I feel like it'll be Rhea to win again. I feel like I don't know, I just feel like Rhea could beat her again.
yeah, yeah. I don't know why, but I know everybody likes to give Charlotte the reputation that she hogs the spotlight and never puts people over. But I get the feeling that whoever she selects, I think she's gonna put them over and lose. Now, maybe they have a second rematch after WrestleMania, but I get the feeling that Charlotte's gonna lose and put somebody over. It just feels like the right thing to do, whether it's Rhea Ripley or Tiffany Stratton. So that's my at least my guess. Um, Kevin Owens, if you happen to have caught SmackDown, he attacked Sami Zayn on Monday Night on Raw, um, turning his attention to a big grudge match. It looks like they're building, but it's also interesting because Randy Orton still hasn't came back and got his lick back. So it's like he kind of has that story and then the Sammy story. I thought that they might get bold and would have made Sammy interfere and make Cody lose that ladder match. I thought that could have been a good swerve, but they didn't, and that's okay. Um, are you excited about the potential of another Kevin Owens Sami Zayn match?
Well, I haven't watched any of their original matches together,
Okay.
I haven't really been around to see their matches together. So this will be something totally new for me. But I hear people saying, oh, they always, work with each other. So I'm excited to see them together, even though some people may be like, oh, okay, we've seen this before. But I feel like they have good chemistry together. There's a reason they're always being put together. And it'll just be nice to see, they won the tag team championships together. They still have a story together. So just seeing them wrestle would be really cool.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's like you said, I mean, they have had their wars, but they're one of the better modern rivals because of their chemistry. And when you're real life best friends, you kind of have that trust in the ring more with each other and that chemistry. So I'm all for it. I thought that pile driver looked really sick that he did to Sammy. They really sold that moment as Kevin being dangerous, and I really would love to see where it's headed. Um, Selfishly, I would love Kevin Owens. There's probably no space creatively to do it right now, but I would love him to get rewarded with a title reign at some point because he just puts his body all on the line. He really put his body on the line in that ladder match and made Cody Rhodes look good. Like there was nothing fake about that ladder match.
Right.
It was tough. Um, I want to switch gears a little bit. It just happens to be Black History Month. I don't want to put you on the spot, but I am curious. If you had to name like a good three or five, who are like some of your favorite wrestlers of color or black wrestlers, whether men or women? Well, who are some that come to mind for you?
Number one who comes to mind is Bianca Belair. I
Yeah, me
love
too.
Bianca. When I first started getting back into wrestling, my dad took us to a live show, and I forgot what year it was. It was like I think it was like 21. And my sister, she was just so happy to see Bianca. And I was like, I've never heard of Bianca before. And then I see her coming out with her long braid and just her charisma. I just fell in love with Bianca. She's just amazing. She looks amazing. She's just awesome. And she, is just one of the best baby faces we have on the roster now. So Bianca, I love Naomi. I love Jade. Those three together make just a wonderful trio. I don't know what kind of story we're going to be getting when Jade comes back, if
Hmm.
they're still going to be a trio or not. But just all of them together, they have just such a cool factor to them. They all look wonderful. They could really be powerhouses if just like, again, and this is for every wrestler on the roster, if they just know how to book them and tell the
Hmm.
story correctly. And let's see, I love the Street Profits again with that same live show, seeing them live and their charisma. I love the Street Profits. And I hate that they dropped the ball with Bobby Lashley. I love Lashley. When they
Yes,
were all together, I was excited, but they just dropped the ball on that trio. They
they
really
did.
did. So those are my favorites right now.
Damn, you like almost everybody I like. I liked everybody you just named. I think Naomi's very underrated. Um, Bianca Belair might be the GOAT. I think Charlotte's the GOAT, but I think Bianca's quickly taking that spot because she is just so consistent. She doesn't miss. She really is the fastest, the toughest, the most athletic. Like she don't miss. Like
You don't.
I am in awe of her. Like she's really fun to watch, and that charisma just jumps out at you. And then Jade, like I think the sky's the limit. Like I think she's injured right now for real, so that's kind of slowed her down. Um, but I'm so excited to see her build up momentum. Hopefully, she could get back by before WrestleMania and get a WrestleMania moment. Um, Lastly, it's funny you brought him up. He was my number one favorite wrestler before he left. And you're right. I thought they could have done so much more with the alliance with the Street Profits. Like those guys look like they belong together, and they could have done a lot, but it didn't happen. It is what it is. That happens sometimes. But another one that comes to mind is, if we go in a little bit old school, is Booker T. Always love Booker T's work. I think he could give you some serious work. He could give you a little bit of comedy. He could do a lot of things for you. And then back in the day for the women's, Jacqueline, like she was one of the first women's champion of color, was one of the first women that had good matches with men. So
Right.
I like her work a lot too. So just wanted to honor some of the best black wrestlers a little bit while we're here a little bit. So I want to be respectful of time, so I'm gonna end off on this. If you had to have your gut feeling, where do you see the CM Punk Roman Reigns Seth Rollins um, feud going? Do you see that triple threat, or do you see Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins 1-on-1, or Roman Reigns CM Punk 1-on-1?
I don't know where they're going with this.
Yeah,
I
me
don't know.
either.
It was such a surprise seeing that feud just brewing because I thought maybe they'll finally run back Roman versus The Rock or, Roman
Right.
and Cody again or something. I did not see him and Seth and CM Punk all together feuding. I don't know. I really don't. They have me stumped. I think he could put on a good match and have a good feud with anybody, whether it's just him and CM Punk, him and Seth Rollins, or all three. I don't know, with triple threat things, it can get kind of convoluted and
Yeah.
mixed up if it's just three people all, fighting together, fighting each other, So I hope they could pace it right. I don't know though.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm a little stumped a little bit too because it looked like they're planting seeds for the three-way, but it felt like most of his attention was on Seth Rollins, and Seth Rollins stomped him twice. So I could see them pulling off. They could pull off either way, whether it was a one-on-one or a three-way. But three ways can be a little clunkier because it's an odd number, and those type of matches are a little different. But I don't know, with the way WrestleMania is headed, I can't help but almost feel like you could maybe do that. You could do something creative because last year they made, Seth Rollins and Cody versus Roman and Rock for night one to see what the stipulation is for Roman Reigns and Cody. And I think they could get creative here and do that again, like make night one factor into night two. So maybe you could do the triple threat and then the winner faces Cody at night two, or maybe you could do the triple threat and the winner faces Cody after WrestleMania. I think if you do it, something has to be on the line other than bragging rights. I think you could add a little bit sauce by putting something on the line there. Um, but it's just going to be very fascinating. Like I feel like WWE's at a point where there's so much talent and there's so many different avenues that you almost can't go completely wrong with where they're headed. Um, but that will I'll wrap up here. But do you want to plug in your handle and your work before we head out?
Oh, yes, thank you. Yes, you can follow me on Instagram at VoodleBop. That's my only page. You can follow me and see my work, and you can interact with me. If you have any ideas, you can either DM me, on there and commission some work, or just, let your ideas be heard, or on Etsy. My Etsy is at a doodle by pumpkin, and you can message me on there as well. I just posted some more listings on there so you can see what I have now. And if you have, again, any ideas for commissions, you can just hit me up and I'll be happy to.
Great, awesome. Yeah, yeah. Go and check out her Instagram at Voodoo Bob. Abby, I sincerely want to thank you. Maybe we can do this again sometime. It's been fun picking your brain and you know your stuff for real, for real. So I hopefully we can do this again.
Yes, thank you. Thank you again for having me and giving me this platform. I always appreciate it. And I really enjoyed your takes as well, especially with the triple threat match at WrestleMania having a stipulation with it. I didn't even think of that. So that's a good idea. I would like to see if they do run it, I would like to see that.
Word, word. All right. Y'all go check out her work and subscribe to us at Wrestling with Things on YouTube. We'll catch you next video. Peace.